Alright, we're fixing to take notice of a incident pertaining to a wild animal, in which some people will say, oh, a bull ain't wild. Well, you can say whatever you want to say about a bull. I know whenever I was raised out here on the farm, and from time to time, we would get kicked, stomped. We would have different things happen to us. Hogs would try to attack us because they felt threatened about us being too close to their piglins. An animal is an animal, and you can try to domesticate them all you want as far as indoctrinating them, but the fact of the matter is they're still an animal. But you know, the common thread to all that is that so are we. We're animals. And for us to think that they don't think of what is going on and how it's going on would be not only naive, but it would be careless upon our part, because we're supposed to be a lot smarter than them in ways. We're fixing to show you an incident that happened in a rodeo circuit that will probably make people wonder what exactly is going on with the creatures and the animals here on the planet. Please listen.
56 past the hour, a terrifying incident at a rodeo in Oregon. Multiple people were injured after a bull jumped a fence into a crowd of spectators this weekend. Joining us now is NBC's Emily Ikeda. Emily, what happened here?
Jose, well, so many people caught off guard. The crowd of some 10,000 had been singing God Bless the USA during the final and most popular event of the night, when suddenly it took a terrifying turn. As you mentioned, the massive animal leaping over the fence and into the crowd. Many people in the crowd capturing the shocking incident on cell phone video. A warning, we should mention that some may find it upsetting. A terrifying scene at a packed rodeo in Sisters, Oregon over the weekend. It happened during the final event of the night in front of a crowd of thousands. That's when a full-size bull nicknamed Party Bus jumped over a fence, instantly causing chaos in the stands. Danielle Smithers took this video.
I was panicked, knowing that now this giant animal is out there.
The bull storming into a concession area, striking some in the crowd, knocking over a garbage can, and sending terrified patrons scrambling.
We had a bull losing. We have one down.
The bull then flipped an unsuspecting woman several feet into the air. You can see her tumbling head over heels before slamming into the ground. 5 people sustained injuries, according to the Cloverdale Fire Department, although amazingly they say none were life-threatening. The Sisters Rodeo Association issuing a statement saying, in part, the rodeo announcer immediately activated the emergency response plan, adding that rodeo livestock professionals quickly responded to safely contain the bull.
He wasn't loose for more than, I would say, 25 to 30 seconds. He actually ran through a gate that was at the end of the arena boards, and he went right back to where the rest of the bulls were kept.
The Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association saying, while rodeo is a very entertaining sport, on very rare occasions, it can also pose some risk.
We're just very fortunate that nobody else was hurt or worse.
And organizers of the event say the bull was checked out by veterinarians and is okay. But my gosh, Jose, you look at that video and you think it really is remarkable there weren't even more serious injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Emily, the agility of the bull, too.
Incredibly athletic animal. I guess it's why it's involved in these rodeos. But yeah, a massive animal leaping over the fence. It's pretty stunning to see.
Yeah, really amazing. Emily Ikeda, thank you so much. It's great seeing you. Before we go, some good news.
Let's back up real quick. We want to identify the... I hear a dog out here. A while ago, a dog come up to me. I don't know whose animal it is. I don't think it's the neighbor up the road. I think it's maybe the neighbor down the road. But hang on one second.
There,
right
you
here.
can see her.
Stop right there. Back up.
Tumble.
Back up.
Storming into a concession area, striking some in the crowd, knocking over a garbage can, and sending terrified patrons scrambling.
All right, stop right there. Now, we're going to do this. This is a call that went out, I'm assuming from a policeman, security guard that was working there. Now watch this in slow motion. This is just incredible in how, I don't know, probably a 14, 15, maybe even 1,800 pound bull can take a human being, lift her completely off her feet, I'm assuming it's a her, and she goes spinning upside down, and then he hits her again, and then she gets thrown up one more time, and from the appearances of what I've seen, it looked like that maybe possibly the table could have helped to cushion her fall to where she didn't fall directly on the ground, but I may be wrong about that. Right, and she goes up again, right. She may have fell on the ground, I don't know. But either or, it's a very unpleasant situation for any human being to be in. But this is what I want to talk about. Whenever it comes to animals, and it don't matter if it's domesticated animals, it don't matter if it's wild animals, it don't matter if it's pre-domesticated animals, that's basically half domesticated and half not. But whenever you take these animals, especially in the rodeo, and they see all these human beings around there that's applauding and hooping and hollering and being entertained while they're being tied up, while they're being ridden, while they're being mascotted in front of the crowd, you would just basically have to put yourself into the same place that you would be if you was a Christian during the time of the Roman Empire, towards whenever they would throw the Christians into an arena with wild animals and watch and be entertained while they be eaten up, while they be killed. Do you not think that the people that was going through those horrible situations knew exactly what they was doing on the outside of the fence and why that they was doing it? Sure they did. Now to that vicious animal, the lions, tigers, whatever that was, to them, more than likely, they looked upon the fact that this was food, and it didn't matter what sorts of food, because I'm pretty sure they probably starved the lions or the tigers for a certain amount of days. That way they would know that they would be hungry, and they would basically eat any and everything that come in front of them. This is my point, and I want to make it very, very clear in what I'm wanting to say here. I'm not wanting to discredit the rodeo circuitry, because I know several people that are participants in rodeos, locally and abroad, and I know that the rodeo circuit has been in existence here in America, I guess, for the past couple hundred years. I'm assuming that it's been that long. It may not have been that long, but
he wasn't loose for more than, I would say, 25 to 30 seconds. He actually ran through a gate that was at the end of the arena.
I'll get back to what I'm wanting to say in just a minute, because I'm wanting to catch this also in the latter part after this rodeo incident, because there is one good thing that has come out of this particular broadcast other than watching an animal go crazy.
Veterinarians and is okay, but my gosh, Jose, you look at that video and you think it really is remarkable there weren't even more serious injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Emily, the agility of the bull too.
incredibly athletic animal. I guess it's why it's involved in these rodeos. But yeah, a massive animal leaping over the fence. It's pretty stunning to see.
Yeah, really amazing. Emily Kenna, thank you so much. It's great seeing you. Before we go, some good news to start the week. A preschool teacher gives her student
This is the good news.
remarkable
Please watch.
gift. Take a look.
She's a perfect match.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is the moment Carissa Fisher showed up with a life-saving surprise for Ezra Tozek and his mom, Karen.
This Carissa has a liver for you.
Ezra, who's had health issues all his little life, needs a new liver.
I'm gonna share my liver with his buddy.
And as Carissa told them, she's donating part of her own. How do you, Karen, thank Carissa?
There aren't words. I can't. There's no way to express our gratitude. And we cry and we laugh and we smile. It's just incredible.
An incredible act of kindness, making a huge impact for the rest of his life. What kind of person would do that? What kind of person are you, Carissa? Why would you do this?
I am a helper, and knowing him was just a huge bonus for us, and so it's going to be nice to be able to see him grow up and he can make another difference in the world somehow.
And that wraps up the hour for me. I'm Jose Diaz-Balart.
And that was a very heartwarming, touching story pertaining to the betterness of humanity
This is reported in it.
versus the worstness in humanity. There are people in the world that care about other people. And whenever I say care about them, I'm just not talking about people loving their loved ones, the people that they're supposed to care for, in which a lot of cases they don't even care for each other. You'll find in the population today to where certain people actually has more empathy and sympathy for dogs and cats than they do each other. But every now and then you will find a story, such as you just seen, of somebody that is willing to sacrifice their liver or part of their liver for the benefit of the life of someone else that they didn't have to do. I find it to be fascinating that any individual would be willing to not only do that, but I find it to be fascinating that any individual would be willing to lay their life down on the line in fighting for our democracy. That even Ronald Reagan mentioned in some of his broadcasting speeches that there's really no way of paying back a human being for doing something like this for our freedom and for ourselves. I mean, you can thank them all day long and you can do things for them, but in reality, if that person has saved your life or saved the life of the majority pertaining to our democracy, how do you thank people like that? That's the reason why that we memorialize people during events like this recently went the anniversary of pertaining to D-Day on the 80th anniversary. That's the reason why that we memorialize people pertaining to Memorial Day and etc. is because though we may not be able to reach the proper criteria in being able to thank them fully and completely in what that they have done, at least we are giving forth E for effort, and we're trying to be appreciative and show our appreciation in this perspective. A lot of people obviously are sublime. They can't see the trees for the forest, and they either don't care or don't understand the sacrifices that has been made for the American democracy here in the United States, that if it wasn't for these people, we could very well be speaking German and be confined in a slave type communist rule country, similar like other countries are all throughout the planet. Now going back to the bull. This weekend, they had 2 shark attacks down in Florida. One happened, and then about, the way I understand it, about maybe 30 minutes later, another attack happened with another, up from the water about 4 miles. Was it the same shark? We don't know. Odds are it probably wasn't. But this is my point pertaining to nature. Nature knows that something has happened to our planet that isn't right. Nature knows whenever it goes into warm, extreme water, that water shouldn't be that warm. Nature knows. Just as that dog that come up onto my back porch here where my wheelchair ramp is, that he's looking for food. In other words, whoever his owner is didn't feed him properly, or maybe he just got loose, and maybe he's just on the prowl, maybe he's just being curious. But one of the most stupidest things that I could have done, and some people are going to argue this point, is for me to have fed the dog. Well, guess what's going to happen if I feed the dog? Then the dog's going to think, wow, this person's going to feed me. They're going to take care of me. I'm going to hang around in this joint. I'm going to come back to this person. And that's exactly how animals think, because they are thinking in the line of survivalist. It's nothing entertaining pertaining to a pissed off bull that basically is showing his aggression this way because he's tired of people hooping and hollering and basically being entertained by the bull family of being treated this way. As this planet continues to heat up more and more and more, we're going to see not only more shark attacks, but we're going to see more animal attacks, and more frequent animal attacks, not just in America, not just around our Gulf areas, but also stateside, and also all over the world. It's remarkably amazing in how smart that the human race is supposed to be, which once more we're all animals, but yet no, they ain't got enough sense to realize that these creatures that get around either on 4 legs or 2 legs or whatever, or crawls around on their belly, they know things too. They're not stupid. And they're acting out because they know that it's the human race that is causing these things. Or they believe that it is. They have suspicion that it is. So as the planet continues to heat up more and more and more, you can expect more frequent attacks, either in the marina world or out here in the open range, because they're responding and reacting the way that they're supposed to respond and react pertaining to their survival. Now I'm going to go a bit further in saying this, and I know a lot of people are going to think, wow, he sure enough went off the deep end whenever he mentioned that. I seen on YouTube, may have been Facebook, where out in California they have recently opened up a restaurant that is fully antiquated by robotic systems, from putting fries into the cooker and boiling them, to putting a hamburger on the grill and cooking it, to actually serving it to the people. All animated, all basically robotic. Once our society fully goes into this animated robotic system, I know there has been scientific forecasting that eventually these robots and these computers that we have designed will turn on humanity, because they will know that it's humanity that has caused the destruction of this great planet. So whenever I talk about animal life, regardless whether it comes in the form of a bull or a bear or a bat or any other object out there, we're talking about these entities lashing out, and it's actually sad to watch how humanity is not responding properly to these events. I think it was last year up in the canal, or up towards where the bridge recently fell. It may have been out from that. I think it was more out towards where there's a vacation spot way up in the northeast part of America, where they had these whales that jumped out of the water simultaneously, almost in a procedure act that looked like that they was performing. I don't know if it was 2 whales or 3 whales, but they all come out of the water at the same time. I don't forgot now if it's 2 or 3. But whenever that immediately happened, God spoke to my heart and He said, Dennis, these animals are not acting out this way because they're wanting people to applaud them or clap for them. They're acting out this way because they're trying to give us signals in telling us that something is desperately wrong pertaining to our planet being sick. And whenever you see, whales beach themselves, sometimes maybe 100, 200, 300, all at the same time, I had said this before, what would cause an animal to basically want to commit suicide? Because they know that if they get out of that water, they're going to die. I'm thinking that they probably got down into an area somewhere where the water was extremely, extremely hot, pertaining to a volcano underwater crevice, and it basically fried their brains, and that was their way of basically saying it's over, by committing suicide. What we are doing to Mother Nature is going to respond back. Whenever you get to looking at the weather events pertaining to the forces of nature, these are all signs that the Bible talks about that was going to occur, that even Jesus predicted over 2,000 years ago would be the great sorrows that would fall upon the humanity in the final and last days, regardless whether it comes in the form of a fire towards it being too dry, or a flood, or a hurricane, or a tornado, or a volcano, or earthquake. These are all entities that now have increased 100-fold just within the past 25, 30 years, that now are more frequent and happening and intensifying again and again and again. Just like all the tornadoes that have struck America this year here in the United States. Yeah, we've had outbreaks of tornadoes before, but I don't think that I think that this year has broke all-time records pertaining to the outbreaks among and above the board. Why is that? Is because we are tampering, we are affecting, we are changing the very dynamics of normalcy into abnormalcy. And eventually, the abnormalcy will actually become the normalcy. In other words, instead of having a Category 5 hurricane hit once every 100 years, or once every 20 years, or once every 10 years, then we start having them every year. To the point that, wow, this is normal. We're going to have these hurricanes. What is causing this? It is not God that's causing these things. It is mankind that are causing these things, because the satanic evil has impenetrated people's hearts and people's minds out of greed and selfishness, and we did not evolve during the time that we should have evolved back in the late 80s. that was a paradigm shift that should have not only taken place on a political scale pertaining to the Atlantic and Pacific alliances, but that was a paradigm shift that was supposed to have happened to humanity that now we are seeing the results of pertaining to the consequences, because that paradigm shift was not a full shift. In other words, it only half shifted. It didn't come to a complete shift pertaining to the spirit world, pertaining to the church world, actually effectively getting involved with end time biblical Bible prophecies. And for any human being to sit back and accuse God of these occurrences that we ourselves are causing, to me, they're either very, very naive, or they're very, very narrow-minded, or they're wicked and demonic to begin with, and they want to blame God for our own faults. I guess I'm going to have to get out here and get the BB gun and cause this 60-pound, 70-pound animal to get out of here, because obviously he ain't just going to leave on his own. But once more, society in general, we must look at how we are affecting the planet, just like the polar bears having to go further north, or the penguins having to go further north. Other animals and creatures upon to the planet, they're changing their whole animal behavior because of what is happening. So, and I'm not trying to scare people of going to the ocean, Pacific or Atlantic Ocean, and going swimming here in America, but I'm just telling you, the more that we get further into this, just like the Bible talks about, the more that we're going to see signs up onto the earth and signs up into the heavens, such as we have never ever seen before. Because everything affects everything. We don't live on an island by ourselves and think that don't nobody know who we are, and don't nobody know what we're doing, and etc., because they do. A matter of fact, the spirit world is watching us very, very in-depthly in what we're doing and how that we're doing it. I think that's the reason why that humanity started seeing multiple unidentified flying objects after World War II, because the spirit world identified that our world could actually affect not only our world, but their world too as well, if there was ever a complete, total nuclear holocaust by us destroying the face of the planet. And of course, if you destroy the face of the planet, odds are you're going to destroy the planet, but you're also going to affect other galaxies and other planets around this planet. Because once more, everything is in unison the way that God designed it, and we are actually changing God's grand design by draining so much oil out of the ground and by putting all the carbon dioxide gases up into the atmosphere that is basically destroying the ozone layer. I can't be clear enough about that. I'm pretty sure this dog is probably barking at my cats. So once more, I'm going to end this particular conversation on this by letting you watch some of this pertaining to what's going on right now over in Israel pertaining to the hostage situation.
This was reported in Israeli media today. The Israeli defense establishment is kind of giving that some side eye. The fact is that this was an operation that freed only 4 hostages. It took weeks of planning and intelligence gathering in order to pull this off, and it killed, as you mentioned, more than 270 Palestinians, a huge toll for the Palestinians to pay for the liberation of these 4 people. So at the same time, Hamas, on their side, they're going to see this as further evidence that the Israelis simply want to kill as many Palestinians as possible. Both of these sides are no further together than they were months ago when these negotiations started. And this is the same deal that we've been talking about for several weeks.
And in fact, Sheriff Benny Gantz was asked yesterday whether he's essentially leaving the Israeli government without an adult in the room, and here's how he responded to that.
I was very privileged, together with my friends, to bring to the cabinet room all the experience we have. I know that the other people are staying there, mainly Yoav Gallant and Prime Minister himself. They know what should be done. Hopefully they will stick to what should be done, and then it will be okay.
Is it clear what this resignation means for the war and for the Israeli government going forward, Sharon?
Like you mentioned, Benny Gantz was seen as the responsible adult in the room in a coalition that is the most far right in Israel's history. It is very unclear what this means going forward. For kind of many reasons. In Israel itself, many people were comfortable that Gantz was inside the government, that he was part of the strategies, that he was deciding on critical issues with the war. And also for the American government, it was very comfortable and very palatable for them to speak with Benny Gantz, someone with whom they shared kind of a basic understanding of what needs to be done and what sacrifices also need to be made. So in answer to your question, no, there's essentially more questions now after this resignation.
And Matt Bradley touched on this, Rob, but on Saturday, Israel conducted the most sweeping hostage rescue operation since October 7th. Is this likely a one-off, or would they be able to pull off something like this again? What does your experience tell you?
I think it'd be tough as a one-off. I think it's driving the fact that Israel has no confidence that the hostages are going to get released in negotiations. They're going to start risking these hostage rescue operations. Everyone you do is going to put more emphasis on the guards and the communication. They may be looking at the intel that got them to this point to begin with, and it's going to get tougher. But I think it's also drastic in that it can separate the sides, or it can actually pull in Hamas saying, well, if we start losing hostages to rescue operations, we probably need to start negotiating to get that leverage back, because right now they're kind of losing it. And I think Hamas's, they said on their Telegram website that 3 hostages were killed, and there's no confirmation to that. And I think that's part of the misinformation campaign. I think Hamas has some hostages that have died that they're now trying to put back into, oh, this happened from an Israeli operation. It happened with Kayla Mula during the campaign in 2015 with ISIS. They try to blame that on a U.S. allied raid when in fact they killed her, or she died under their conditions.
I've said this before, I'll say it again pertaining to war. If people aren't willing to get along, if people aren't willing to compromise in making sure what is fair for the goose is fair for the gander, you can expect collateral damage on both sides, because it is in fact war. War is basically where the strong steal from the weak, or take from the weak. That's basically what war is. And to me, it couldn't have happened at a worse time in everybody trying to evolve and escalate after COVID and trying to get things back on target again. And instead of society responding in a positive way, society is still acting in a negative way, or they're still in total doubt about what is actually occurring. And I really don't know how far down the barrel that we're going to have to go before there actually is a major awakening, not only here in America but throughout the planet, regarding biblical Bible prophecy. Once more, it's not so much what that we have done, but what that we have not done in acknowledging these factors and properly preparing for them. I can't help it that I don't like a big dog out here, because I got 2 cats that are unfamiliarized with dogs and they don't want to be around dogs, and most of the time cats and dogs just don't get along. So hopefully I've scared him enough that he'll leave and he won't come back. Like I said, one of the worst things that you can do if your neighbor or a stray dog or even a cat to do is, or a bear or whatever, is feed that animal. Those either domesticated or undomesticated animals needs to be left alone to the nature or to their own inhabitants that they're involved in, pretending to their masters, and if the master is not taking care of the animal properly, well then the master no longer needs to have the animal. That would be my advice, regardless whether it's a dog, a cat, a parrot, a goldfish, or whatever. If you're not going to be responsible in taking care, or a human, a baby, if you're not going to be responsible in taking care of that creature the way that it deserves to be taken care of, you should not have the creature. You should not have the animal. You should not have the cat. You shouldn't have even the goldfish. If you're not going to feed the goldfish properly, you don't deserve to have a goldfish. Things right now are so whacked that it is no way humanly possible that humanity is going to be able to straighten out this problem. That's the reason why I continue to say it's going to require a revival, that a revival will eventually lead off into a revolution, a worldwide revolution, in putting us back in mainstream, on target, or on the path that we're supposed to be on, because of this belligerent movement that began in the late 80s, early 90s, that people such as myself and Al Gore has been trying to tell people all along. This is what's going to occur. This is what's going to occur. Just like the scientists that went to the White House during Carter's administration and told Mr. Carter, this is what you can expect if we continue on the same trajectory that we're on, pretending to stealing precious resources from the ground and putting carbon dioxide up into the upper atmosphere. This is what you can expect. And those very people now are seeing where their words are coming true. Now, I want to end this note by saying I think the animal's gone. I scared him. I didn't hit him, I just scared him. But I want to show my viewers something that I have recently done pertaining to living in an RV or a home, a house, in the summertime, and trying to not just save on my utility bill, but try to be more comfortable during the hot summer months. I've got a skylight right here in the front of my deal right here, and I just recently put this in here to cover up. I still get the light because I cut holes in it, but the heat that was fumigating from that skylight, I've cut out probably about 70 to 80% of the heat coming out of that skylight. That means my air conditioner is not going to have to work near as hard. I've got a bay window right here that is a beautiful sight, especially if you was parked next to a lake, a big bay window. But this big bay window right here, the way that it's facing to the south, gets probably 90% of the sunlight that comes directly into those bay windows. Even though the bay window is tinted in color, it still brings in so much heat that it's unbelievable. I just wanted to show my viewers that little things like that and what that we can